Alright guys, welcome back. Jerk Block Talk. I am Jason Fernandez. We are at CrossFit Rife. Topic for today, giving feedback. When, how frequently, all of those things. Bottom line is this: if you're not giving feedback to your coaches, you should be. Even if you don't even know what you're talking about when you give feedback to your coaches, you should be giving it on a regular basis. If you never give feedback, you'll never get better at it. If you're one of those folks that's super non-confrontational and you just don't enjoy giving people feedback because you might potentially have to tell somebody something was not good, here's my advice. Find somebody that you trust, that you look up to as a professional, have them give you feedback, and then just mimic that every time that you go to give your coaches feedback. I just finished watching Cassidy's class. He was teaching 4 p.m., crushing it. Thought he did a really good job. One of the things we circled back on in our feedback and some of my feedback to the staff is just more emphasis on cueing. So in my evaluations over the past week or so, obvious that everybody's implementing that, and it's providing a better product on the floor, which is the value of giving feedback. Now, there's some basics on feedback that you should be thinking about. You can make it as detailed or as general as you want. The way I usually do it today, I was trying to do 2 things at one time, and I was trying to do it on a notepad. I usually break out my phone, open up the Notes app, and jot all my notes in there. Because then what it allows me to do is take that, boom, send out an email out to the coach, real time right there. So they automatically have the feedback, and we're usually going to do a debrief afterwards. So Cassidy's finishing up his class. I've got some notes for him, all pretty much good stuff. There's a couple things I think you could tweak, but nothing major. If you take feedback or you give a very general feedback to your coach, be like, hey, your coach was sloppy 2 weeks ago, that's pretty much fucking useless to anybody, right? If you're gonna give feedback, it needs to be immediate. So grab them after the class, give them that feedback, do a little debrief with them, because right now it's real time, it's fresh in their brain, and they're more likely to implement that feedback going forward. For instance, in a scenario like where, let's say Cassidy, one of our coaches here, had the 4 and the 5, I would grab him, I'd give him like 2, maybe 3 things that I would want him to implement immediately for the 5 p.m. and I would want to see that take place. Then I would send him everything else, and we would do a debrief on the rest of the list of things that I observed after that. We'd do that at a later time, probably after his 5 o'clock class. But if I have stuff to give him that would be valuable to his class immediately, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to give it to him right there. Boom, done. So there's 3 major things that we want to be thinking about when giving feedback. The first one, organization. Did the coach clearly have a plan when they walked in the door, or are they your new coach who's been there for a month, which means they have enough time under their belt to wing it, which, by the way, never pans out? Were they organized? Did the classroom layout make sense? Did they make sure that they were deconflicting any problems with athletes and equipment, stuff like that? The second thing after organization is timeline, right? So we've talked a little bit about timeline and how to manage that. Now you have to go back and give an evaluation on, like, are we meeting the timeline? Our timeline is generally around 25 minutes is when we want to say go. That's a pretty hard timeline to hit, especially even if you're cooking, but that's the goal, right? So the feedback is on where are we in trying to achieve that high bar for success. Giving feedback on where we can trim the fat, maybe some things that we can spend a little bit more time on that are a little bit more valuable based on the workout for that day. All of this stuff goes hand in hand with developing your staff. Then the last thing we would talk about is coaching, specifically like Are they moving around the classroom? Are they getting eyes on every athlete? Are they cueing well? Are they using verbal, visual, tactile cues? Or do they only have like one specific cue, more hip extension or open your hips or whatever? Give them some more tools to work with. There's some other things that you can do as far as giving them some feedback on ways to maybe leave out one type of cue for a particular class. Say, hey, we try just giving visual cues for today. It's just it's an exercise to get better. But the point is that you're giving that feedback. If you're not doing that, guys, you're doing a disservice. One of the things that I can tell you that I realized a couple years ago when I started giving my staff feedback is that's where my development as a coach, more importantly, my awareness of the minutia and the things that really make a good class, I became hyper aware of all those things. The same thing happened in our intern process that we'll talk about in another video. When I started giving our staff responsibility for those interns and they were responsible for giving feedback to the staff, that's when those staff members, boom, separated themselves from everybody else, because now they became aware of the minutia. They're the ones giving the grade. They're the ones writing down all of the nitty-gritty of the class and then giving that debrief to the intern. And again, not shocking that those were the coaches that really, really started getting it, really started to make that leap as a good coach. So really get into that stuff. Try to get those three major things: organization, timeline, and then coaching. If you can just give them some basic feedback on those things, guys, it's going to make a huge difference for your staff. And really, on the coaching, even if you don't know what you're looking at, just evaluate it on this: is the movement getting better? Right? And not like a lot better, just better. Like better is better. That's one of our things here, is like it doesn't have to be 100% better, it just needs to be 1% better than when they walked in the door. Even if you're not hip on coaching, you don't know all the sexy cues and all that shit, you know if the movement got better and you know if it got done in a timely manner. That's valuable feedback to give the coach. Say, hey man, you spent 15 minutes trying to correct the dip drive on the pusher. Maybe that's a little bit too long. Let's figure out a way to shorten that up, or a different way to do it based on what you saw in the class. But the point is, if you're not giving feedback, you should be. Coaches, if you're watching this and you're not the head coach at your box, what I would tell you is you need to ask for feedback. For those of you that don't know, I work on seminar staff for CrossFit, have for a couple years, and the feedback loop there is never ending. And it is the most valuable thing. If I look back at the past 4 or 5 years, it is the most valuable thing and the determining factor on me becoming a better coach moving forward was getting that feedback from people that were better than me. And not all of it is going to be good. I've gotten some really shitty feedback from some people that I really looked up to. But if you're open to feedback, which your staff should be and you should be as a professional, that's what's going to make you better. Not all of it should be good. If somebody's giving you feedback all the time, it's like, it was awesome, find somebody else. Find somebody who's going to dig into what you're doing and really be critical about what it is that you're saying, how you're moving, how you're managing your class, all of those things. Because if you're not getting any better. You're going to stay stagnant as a professional, and other people are going to pass you by, other gyms are going to pass you by, and it's not going to be a fun time. So main thing here, guys, is start giving feedback. If you guys have questions about how I give feedback or some specifics on how that stuff goes down, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to address those for you. I don't necessarily use a set template. My big thing is jot it down in notes, send it off to the coach. It doesn't have to be this fancy spreadsheet, guys. It just has to be valuable, more importantly, specific to what you just saw. Okay. If it's super general, again, it's not going to help. And then we'll talk a little bit more in some other videos about, okay, how do I give feedback? What are some do's and don'ts when doing it? How frequently should I do that? And then some ways to implement feedback going forward. Big thing for development as coaches, for you to be looking out for, the really good coaches are the coaches that get it even if they're new. Implementation of feedback, key for me. I want to see a coach that's going to implement it immediately. If I talk to them after a class and have the following class, I want to see that stuff taken care of right then and there, and I don't want to have to address it again. That's big for me personally. That's what you should be looking for. Those are going to be the people that are going to be super valuable to you, and that's the way you should be when you get feedback. You should take that, you should implement it immediately. Don't wait. But anyway, guys, if you have questions, please put that in there. If you have things that you do for feedback for your staff, go ahead and throw it in the comments, guys. Don't be the guy holding all the secrets to the world by not sharing that information. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. See ya.